Hey everyone, this is from a heroic grade. I just wanted to show you how to use this team with Honey Lemon and Cobra and Sven and Hero and Baymax against the shark. First of all, I use all basic moves right out of the start, as you can see here, until the shark has a turn to go, because otherwise everything you would do would just be a waste when he makes that purge. Now, after the shark attacks, I set up evasion with Hero. And here I'm not cleansing everything with Baymax with his super jump because I actually want some damage to go on my characters, but I can use Honey Lemon's the one time I'm not going to use her basic, that I use her second move because it takes the buffs off the shark, so then Cobra's silence will work in that turn. And so that's why I do that. But I don't cleanse right away with Baymax because it allows for the charges to spell if my characters will survive. And that's why the evasion is up, so Hero survives that. And see, so there's a bit of continuous damage on my characters, but it's okay. And I'm continuing not to use Baymax's full cleanse of everyone because I actually want some damage to build up so the cauldron will charge. So the basic strategy with these characters is I want to put tactics on Sven every opportunity I have, because when he has tactics on him, when he uses the cleanse from Cobra, as long as Sven has tactics, every time he eats a carrot, he gets 2 crits that build up instead of 1. And the whole idea of this strategy is for Sven to eat carrots and get as many evasions and crits on him as possible, because that is what makes him hit really hard in the end, because his damage, right there, he's hitting for 59,000 right now, which is a bunch, but it's going to grow to be more. You want to watch. Now, there I put the patient onto Sven just because in case he hits, it adds an extra buff that's on him. And you want to build up shields with Hero, but mostly with Hero, when he has the ability to speed somebody up, I'm giving it to Cobra for the most part, just like right there. Unfortunately, that was not a great moment to do it, but it still gets Cobra another turn because Cobra didn't have either of his moves, his special moves. But I give it to Cobra because I want to silence as much as possible. Now you see the shark, the insta-kill meter is full, the big open shark mouth there. So it means I'm about to lose Baymax. But as you can see, I've been building buffs up on Sven, both in the form of evasions and in the form of crits. And a few other things. When Cobra cleanses Sven, it also will give him, or if you give a turn to Sven with Hero, which occasionally I might do later, it adds even further buffs onto him beyond just the evasions and the crits. And you can see now the power is up to 81,000. That does a lot of damage. So there, we finally got to the insta-kill. And the whole point of this is to delay these insta-kills as long as possible. Now here's why Honey Lemon is valuable, because look, not only is the key is you always use her basic, except in that instance right there when you see the shark had the 2 little yellow power-ups underneath on with his things up there, because that makes that he's not going to resist Cobra's silence and he won't hit you harder. Otherwise, you always use Honey Lemon's basic. That's her function, because her basic puts a slow on the shark, which is what enables this to keep going. That's the key to this whole run, is just give Sven as much time as possible to build up crits by using Cobra's silence to bring down the turn meter as much as you can. That yellow turn meter keeps moving, as you can see above the shark's moves. Now it's way up there right now, so it's kind of it's a balance, but you want to, between what you do with Cobra, between cleansing and silencing. But for the most part, unless the yellow turn meter is really low, I want to silence and bring the shark down. Otherwise, if it's an option, I cleanse Sven, like right there. It puts more buffs on him, and it means that every time Sven eats a carrot, that number, you see the circles there where it's down up to times 24, it goes up by 2 instead of 1. Now see, finally my cauldron charged. The only reason it was ever going to charge, there's a silence, and that brings this yellow speed meter down, as you can see. Now that the only reason the cauldron ever was going to charge is because I took damage at the beginning. That's why I took it. So once the cauldron's out, for the most part, I'm going to speed up the cauldron with Hero, because that allows it to give more magic to everybody, which makes this go much smoother than it was going before I had the cauldron. So there's Hero using his basic. Really never want to have to use Cobra or Hero's basic move, but sometimes you have to. Unfortunately, cauldron doesn't last very long because the shark eats it. But sometimes he doesn't, and it got me a few extra moves there. In better runs, he won't go at that. If you can get the cauldron out while Baymax is still out there and take more damage, it's much better, because the shark won't go after the cauldron anymore after there are a bunch of evasions on the cauldron. He tends to go after it on the first turn. But if you can get a taunt with Baymax, then you can protect the cauldron and it'll stay out there, and the whole thing will go much sooner. Now see, Sven is now up to hitting for 135,000. Now the insta-kill build up, and there's Honey Lemon. Now see, now I have no way to get rid of these the yellow positive buffs on the shark at this point. And now that I'm down to 3 characters, it becomes a little bit less about just eating carrots. You see I sped up Sven there because I'm trying to just get him more crits, and I wanted to get that more power onto him. Now here, this is a tough decision for me. See, I cleanse Sven in that instance instead of using the silence, because that's the problem with having those resistance, those yellow buffs that the shark has. So now this is where it gets a little trickier. Now here, again, it's not exactly the moment where I want to use the silence, but because the yellow is, his speed meter is so low. So I copied Sven. I could have used that pan shadow earlier, but I wanted to wait until towards the end of the run, because it doesn't, the copy of Sven isn't necessarily that helpful. Sometimes because it speeds things up, but if you want to do some extra damage, it really helps. Because if you can do the extra damage towards the end of the run, it can blast you through to the end. So I wait until there are a lot of crits on Sven. So really, the time when I'm going to copy the shadow is when I'm nearing the end of my run, and also probably after Hero has sped up Sven recently, or Cobra has recently cleansed Sven, and he's gotten a critical power up or some extra buffs. As you can see here, now they attack together, and the shark is getting through to Cobra. It is possible. This is not the perfect run to get through, but this is just showing you how to beat the shark. This run started at 87% of the shark and got down to the end, which is at 75%. That's just an example of how to go against the shark. Sometimes I start later in the phase or have more power going into the eels, and then you can attack away at the eels with all the evasions or crits you built up.